Real estate is a people business. We're in the business of building up other people. We're not in the business of selling property, crazily enough.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Private Access. And today we have an amazing broker for you. This broker brings the bridge from Miami to New York, across to London, and down into Europe. I want to say a big hello to Anna. Anna, how are you?
Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction.
I
Very
think I think Anna, it's worth pointing out that you look a lot younger, but in 21 years of you doing this, you've
Yeah.
sold property internationally in many, many locations, and I really want to dig into that as we speak and we go through this conversation. But first thing I always ask everybody, what drew you? Where was the point that you got into real estate as a broker? What country was you living in when it
Yes.
happened?
Well, I was living in New York City. I actually was not thinking about getting into property, was not at all on my radar. I moved from Miami, which is where I'm from, born and raised in Miami. I was a wedding planner in Miami and a corporate event planner. And I moved to New York when I was about 25, just looking to branch out and grow. And my mother and my oldest brother were living there. And I moved to New York to get a job with MTV Networks. And I was going to be doing events for MTV. And I was offered a job, obviously very, very low on the totem pole, and the pay was nothing. And here I am in New York having to pay rent, expensive rent at that. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. And my brother at the time, my oldest brother, he worked in real estate and he had been an agent for a long time with the Corcoran Group, which is very well known in New York City. And he actually went over from being an agent to a manager. He was the manager of the Soho office. And he was the one that convinced me. He said, you should do sales, real estate. And I was like, no, no, I'm not interested in that. And he said, you're a natural salesperson. You would be great at it. And and he convinced me into it. So I loved doing weddings because I felt like it was such a wonderful thing to be there for somebody's really one of the most important days of their life, and being able to make sure everything goes smoothly and just really help them on that day. And he said, well, you're doing the same thing, and it's another really big important part of somebody's life is either buying or selling a home, and you can kind of bring in all those characteristics and those skill sets that you have into real estate. And so I did that, and he was right, and I love it. What I love about real estate is helping the people. That's really what kind of, and I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's really what drew me into saying, yeah, you're right. This is an important part in someone's life, and I want to help them make the most of it, help them in that process that could be very stressful and overwhelming. And that's what really got me into it. And I've been doing it, like you said, 21 years. I've been involved in property in one way or another. I've done sales, I do property management, interior design. So I have a great love for real estate, property, but more than anything, people. I love working with people.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
think
that drew
I
me in.
think I think that's what's so fantastic about real estate is real estate is the world's biggest people business.
I
You
agree.
know, people say you're not in the business of buying or selling bricks, you're in the business of people. And you actually was able to realize that at a young age when you was at MTV. So winding back before MTV, where was you originally from and what made you come to New York?
So as I mentioned, I was a wedding planner, an event planner in Miami. I was born and raised in Miami, Cuban parents. So my parents and my brother were born in Cuba, and like a lot of Cubans, fled the country and went to Miami, surrounded by a lot of other Cubans and other Latins. And growing up in Miami was a lot of fun. And I was 25 and I felt like I just needed a change. And I was going to New York quite a bit, and I was very much in love with New York, that buzz, that excitement that so many people experience when they go to New York. And I just felt like it was time to really kind of branch out and push myself. So I moved over to New York, and the rest is history, as they say.
So did you think coming into real estate, you mentioned your brother said, you shouldn't be in the partying business dealing with weddings and that kind of thing. You would earn more money because we're all here for the money,
Yeah.
and you could help more people if
Yes.
you got into real estate. So what pushed it into real estate? Who was involved in real estate around you? Was it your brother that said, look, you should do this, I'm
Yes.
doing
It
it?
was
Tell us.
initially my brother who made me take that leap from events and weddings and to real estate. I actually worked under a seasoned broker. She had been in the business for 30, 40 years. And she was really like my mentor, and I learned a great deal from her. So I was part of her team. And then I switched over to another team, and I was with that agent about 5 years. But that felt more as a partnership versus, being under him. It felt way more of a partnership. And that's really where, so it was great because as I worked under the first broker, it was more learning the process and the business, especially in Manhattan, where you're doing like massive co-op board packages. There's a lot of paperwork involved when you're buying real estate in Manhattan, especially like a pre-war co-op building. So much paperwork and administration work, and there's so much to learn. And then as I moved over, I think it was 2 years later, it was more of a partnership where I was bringing in deals and I was bringing in clients, and we were working with things together as a team. And I did that for about 4 years until I moved to Miami. I went back to Miami right after my husband and I got married. But that was in 2008 when the massive financial crisis was taking over
Yeah.
the housing market in the US. Miami particularly got hit very hard. And I got my broker's license there. As you know, in the States, you have to have a license to practice, but not only a license, you have to have a license in each state. So I have my New York State real estate license, and then I have my Florida's broker's license. So I did that. And in working in Miami in 2008, I had to learn how to deal with bank-owned properties. So foreclosures, REOs, as they say, and things like that, which was very different from dealing with Manhattan. Manhattan had almost no foreclosures. Again,
Hmm.
because of these co-op boards and condo boards where they literally like they want you to give them like one of your kidneys. Before you buy a Manhattan property, especially in a co-op board, they want a certain amount of years, like 3 years in an escrow account of your mortgage, your maintenance. So for you to be able to really lose a property to foreclosure in Manhattan is very rare. So that
So
was,
what? So the people that might not know, because the podcast goes out everywhere.
yes,
What is a co-op board, and what do they actually go through? Is it
yes.
like, is it in simple terms? Is it someone that really verifies you to buy a property? So you're going to be buying a property with your own money and
Mhm.
owning it, but they're like, well, we're not sure you're good enough.
They have a lot of
Are you
rules.
Madonna?
Yes. Well, so funny you mentioned that. Madonna was famously turned down by a co-op board in Fifth Avenue. They said no, thank you, because
Wow.
it's not only about the amount of money you have. It's really like who you are and do they want you in their building? And they said no to Madonna for a beautiful pre-war building on Fifth Avenue. They were like, no, thank you. Take your money elsewhere. It's that
Crazy.
kind of exclusivity that you get, especially when you're talking about Park Avenue, Fifth Avenue, those types of pockets in Manhattan. It doesn't even matter how much money you have. It's really like, do they even want you as part of their club? So I'll give you an example, or I'll give you a little history of the difference. So when you buy a condo, um, it's a lot less of a strenuous process where you can put 10% down and you own your apartment outright and you can rent it out, you can buy it as an investment. There's a lot more flexibility. Condos, for that reason, tend to be a little bit more expensive. And co-ops, you don't necessarily own your building or your apartment. What you own is shares. So depending on the size of your apartment and the square footage and everything, it is allocated a certain amount of shares. So the building in terms is really a corporation. It's a corp, and you own shares in that corporation. So that's why there's like almost like shareholders. So the co-op board is made up of 15 owners in the building. There's a president, there's a vice president, there's a treasurer. All these people are in charge of the building. And when you're buying a property in their building, you are partly shares in that company. You own shares. That being said, they are very picky with who they allow, and they need to see your liquidity. They need to see your net worth. They need to see, I mean, you'd be floored by the amount of like reference letters. They literally want to know your blood type. I mean, like it's intense. And especially in my early days where I was doing a lot of the paperwork, you would have to create, depending on how many board members, let's say there's 30 board members, though that those board members will meet, they'll review all the paperwork that has to do with this one buyer. The packages are like this big of papers, and I have to create 30 of those for one for
Wow.
each member of the board. And they review everything. Co-op boards also want closer to 30, 40. Some are famously 50% down to purchase.
Okay. Yeah.
So these are people that have a lot of liquidity and a lot of money.
So
And
would you
they do a board
say,
interview. And you're not allowed to rent it out. Sometimes if it's a more lenient board, you can buy it. You would have to live in the house 2 years out of the 5, and you can rent them out for 3, but every 5. So there's a lot more strict rules. It's kind of like, I mean, it's a really kind of like a little private members club, very exclusive.
it's interesting that you say that. So it's kind of like you got into it at
Yeah.
25,
Yeah.
fresh-faced, straight out of the world of MTV, which must have been
Well,
fun.
I didn't work for MTV. I was offered a job at MTV.
Ah, you was offered a
I
job. Right,
didn't
okay.
take it
So you turned
because
MTV down.
I did because working with MTV at the time, especially that again that low level, the pay was like nothing. It was like more like your pay is to be able to say you work for MTV.
Yeah,
But
I
I
get you.
have bills to pay.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
parents aren't helping me anymore. I'm 25. They're like, you're on your own, kid. I had bills to pay. So I was waitressing on the side. When I finally decided to get into real estate, you have to take these really long courses. You take, I think it's like 60-hour course before you take the test. So you're doing all this schooling. So I was waiting tables, doing what a lot of people do when they move to New York. You're getting by, you're doing whatever you need to survive, which I think is great. I recommend New York City for anybody in their, early 20s. It is a city that, well, there's that saying, right? If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And I would say at that time, I would totally agree with that because there's somebody nipping at your heels, just waiting for you to mess up and take your spot. So it's very competitive. I highly recommend it. It really pushes you to another level of being the best or working
I hear
really
you.
hard.
Yeah, I hear you. And
When you trade the
that's really exciting that you
yeah.
talk about doing that. So then you moved into real estate and straight away to a higher end type of real
Yeah,
estate,
I was
right?
doing so I was on the Upper West Side, really dealing with mostly my properties were Upper West Side, Upper East Side, a little bit of Midtown, little bit in the Village. I mean, we sold Bjork. I don't know if you remember Bjork from the
The
90s.
crazy the singer that screamed all the time.
Yeah, we represented her
Oh,
property in Greenwich Village. We
is
represented Diana Krall. She's a jazz singer. She lived in the Dakota. That's a
right.
famous building on the Upper West Side on Central Park West. So yeah, I was thrown in very high end, which
Yeah.
is I'm very grateful for that. I think being part of a team, especially with a mentor and somebody that is very seasoned, that you're learning everything the right way or just right from the get-go. And of course, I had my brother who was tremendously well known in the industry as a whole, but especially in New York and in his company, he was really admired. It's funny because our last name, my maiden last name prior to getting married, is a hyphenated name. It's Martinez hyphen Hewitt. So that's my full name. And
Very posh.
yes, but professionally, my brother, he dropped the Hewitt, so he was just Martinez. And then professionally, I dropped the Martinez and I was just Anna Hewitt.
Wow.
So for a long time, we worked in different offices, but again, my brother was very, very well known in the company and just in the industry as a whole in New York. A lot of people didn't even know he was my brother. And then they would find out and be like, "Oh my God, your brother's Gene Marti." They couldn't believe it. They thought it was really cool. So I kind of wanted to do it on my, I didn't, it wasn't a purpose. I didn't do it on purpose, but I kind of wanted to do it on my own merit and
Yeah.
not have people treat me differently because I was his sister. But he was an amazing mentor. I was like his little protege, his little, yeah. He loved
Yeah.
teaching me as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, having any type of person that can help you in real estate is great, but it also
I have
comes with
many.
a hard caveat when it's your brother.
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
I don't want to be in his shadow, I want to lead
Oh,
my
and I
own
want to make
path.
him proud, and I want to make sure,
Yeah.
especially, if we work for the same company, I want to make sure there's a certain standard of professionalism and
In
work.
in the family,
Yeah,
and I think that's what's so
yeah,
interesting when we talk about Aperture and we talk about going to other countries, like, me and you have done. We was out a little while ago in Spain,
Yes,
checking out an 8 million euro penthouse. And it's interesting that, people at Aperture work as a family, as a collective.
do. We do.
Yeah.
And it's really what really drew me to Aperture more than anything was that kind of community and that kind of sense of camaraderie. And I'll be honest with you, I have not felt that in this industry before. I mean, not to speak poorly of the other companies that I've worked with. I've really only worked with two, one in Miami and the one in New York. Um, but it's a cutthroat business. And there is a bit of backstabbing. There is a bit of like that kind of like, especially I worked for some time on the Upper East Side office. Oof, catty, catty, catty. It is like, these, imagine these like old school, very, very wealthy Upper East Side women with their Chanel bags and their Chanel tweed jackets.
Yeah.
It's a whole other level of, watch out.
Yeah.
And Aperture has this kind of family feeling. We are, of course, we all want to do business, but I think that the best way that we conduct business with Aperture is that helping each other out and looking out
Yeah.
for one another and giving each other advice. And I have had so many, as I know you have, and just even you and I together. You were one of the reasons that I joined him. Not to
I knew it was because I was gorgeous.
yeah, you were
Yeah.
definitely one of the reasons. Michael absolutely was one of the reasons. Caroline as well. But it was that sense of like, hey, we've got you. We're looking out for you. We're going to help you. We're here. We're in this together. Is really what Aperture feels like, and that's very rare in this industry. And I can say
Yeah. It's,
that
it's
from
been a
21
massive.
years in the business, and so I love it.
It's been a massive struggle, to actually build that and for it to retain because lots of companies go, we're connected
Yes,
and they grow in different ways or they do it in a way that isn't, I would see to be the best way to do it. And they may grow rapidly, but the value point that they're offering has to come down to do that. And I think what we do and what, is so good and what, Robert and Michael have put together is they've allowed us the freedom to actually breathe.
yes,
And that makes us more connected because we share success with each other and we
I
all share later on tonight we're on a bi-weekly Zoom. We share
yes,
the things where we've fallen over and bloodied our knees and no one's pointing and
no,
laughing and it's
it's true.
keeping that across
Yes.
the US into London into Portugal into Dubai into all the other places we're going to go to.
But it's part of what I also use when I'm speaking to clients. I said, I can call up Alex in Nashville or Martha in Big Sky or Bobby in Miami, like and Jack in Dubai. Like these are people that we know, that we work with, that we like, that we know will be there to help us out or to push something for us. Like that it's genuine, and I can feel that. And I do think that, what's going to happen when the company gets bigger? But it's very clear that the vision that Michael and Robert have, and just kind of our culture, that I don't think it's going to matter how big we get. We're still going to have that kind of sense of, with without trying to sound cheesy, but family. It's that
Yeah,
kind of sense. Yeah.
that's why everyone's so verified to come on here, and we
Yes.
validate everyone
Yes.
religiously. So let's get back to you.
Yeah.
So yes, your brother was there to help you and point you, and yes, you had a fantastic mentor. And I think what's really interesting, I'm finding this out with a lot of the agents that I've been talking to over the years, and now as we're doing the podcast, is they started out in a different sort of environment. So you waitering, doing bits and pieces.
Mhm.
And do you think that the waitering, thinking on your feet, not sure who's going to be sitting down in front of you next? Is it going to be a
Yes.
billionaire? Is it going to be, a
Yes.
young lady that hasn't got that much money and being
Yeah.
able to quickly work that person out and, make that person, happy and deal with them in the correct way? Do you think
Yes.
that's helped you moving forward into the world of real estate?
Tremendously. I think treating everybody with the same amount of respect and level of service, no matter what their price point is, that comes through when you're talking to a client. So as I was growing in my business, I also was helping some of my friends that were in their 20s buy their first apartment in New York, and that was a much different price point. Um, I helped a lot of my friends and even like married couples, and then I was also dealing with. We had one time this Texas oil tycoon who bought an apartment in Columbus Circle. So the AOL building, those big massive towers in Columbus Circle, amazing view. And it was like a 3 bedroom, 5.5 million. And he bought it over a weekend. We never even showed it to him. We showed him videos. He never came to New York till after he closed.
Wow.
And that was over a weekend. And so I would have, these deals where I'm dealing with a $500,000 studio for my friend Adam, who is buying his first place, and it's a basement flat, and you know, but I'm walking him through everything and helping him out. And then also, so it doesn't matter. I think it really, you have to help anybody that you say that you're going to help, you're committing to helping them. It doesn't matter what their budget is or what their situation is. And the desire to help them needs to be genuine and real. So I think it definitely helps working with different national. I also worked with a lot of international buyers in New York, obviously here in London. That's mostly what we do. But I think it does help being able to make sure that you're giving everybody the same level of service, no matter where they come from, no matter what their budget is, that it's almost like a vocation. You know what I mean? Like you become
I
a nurse,
love that. Yeah.
you become a therapist. You're that is your job, but it's not only your job because it's what helps you put food on the table, but it's your job because it's what you love and it's what you're dedicated to doing.
Yeah.
So
I love that. So you was in New York doing all that kind of stuff, having them incredible deals going on and being
yeah,
around it and sucking up the environment.
I was a sponge.
Yeah, and all the information, and and for anyone that doesn't know you, you are very good at doing lists and
Yeah,
making sure things are getting ticked
yeah,
off.
I'm very
And
organized.
yeah, I mean, I've seen your fridge, right? And it's kind of like you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing that's your kids, but it's boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom,
my
boom.
kids' schedules. Yeah, they love that.
Yeah, I mean, but you need an element of that because you're dealing with, as you said, people at different price points and also where they are and across. So you was in New
Yes,
York, you came over into Miami,
yeah,
financial crisis has happened,
yes.
bad for everyone,
That was
but
crazy.
because we're agents, we look at the right, where is the positive? Because we've still
Yes.
got to make money out of it. At
I
that
learned
point,
so much during that time, honestly. I felt like I was just thrown in the deep end of a pool and it was like, all right, are you going to sink or swim?
yeah.
And I was a newlywed, and my husband's company that had moved us there because of the crisis. My husband works in asset management, and they had moved us there for him to head up the division there in Miami that was mainly focused in Latin America at the time. 6 months in, they laid him off.
Wow. So
Yes.
now you're faced, young
Yep.
married couple,
Yep.
you're faced from being there to now it's just, and you've just moved over to into Miami, right? Or back. You've
Moved
been
back.
there.
So my husband and I are both from Miami.
So
We have
your little book, your little black book is left in New York.
left, but I'm from Miami, so I know a lot
Yeah.
of people in Miami.
So
I know
could you
a lot
pick
of
it back up?
yeah, pick it
You
back
had to
up.
redo your license, right?
Well, not redo. It was a whole new license because you have to get a separate license in Florida.
You
I
did a
ended up
set.
getting my broker's license, which means that I could open up my own brokerage and hire other agents under me, which I didn't end up doing because I was back in New York about a year and a half later. But I figured if I'm doing my license in Florida, I might as well go for the broker's license. It's a bit harder, but I did that. And then I did learned all about REOs, bank-owned properties, foreclosures, distressed properties in Miami Beach. I was also doing property management, so that was like another way of just kind of being in property and helping people. I was doing in New York, I started doing a lot of staging. That was more,
Yeah.
but in Miami, I started doing a lot of property management. And yeah, and then I was pregnant. So imagine pregnant.
Did that help at all when you're pregnant and you've ever been dealing with clients and you're
It's
like,
very,
shut
it's,
up, you're
yeah.
buying it, just buy
Very
it for God's sake.
strange. So I have two sons, as you know, and during both of my pregnancies, so the one was in Miami and the other one was when we moved back to New York, we became pregnant again. Strangely, both times that I've been pregnant, I was like busier than I've ever been. And my
Yeah.
friend was like, you can slow down. And I was like, but it's sales. And when you're in sales, the opportunities come your way and you don't want to say no. And strangely enough, both times that I was pregnant, I mean, there was times where I was like really pregnant and I was so
I'm sure you was really pregnant
I was
each
so
week.
busy. Well, I was running around the city, showing people apartments, getting things done. A lot of the things that actually happened when I was pregnant was more helping people that I knew, like family, friends, or family that I couldn't say no to. But
Hmm.
yeah, both times when I was pregnant, I was like busier than ever.
Yeah, that's
Strangely
just
enough.
probably somewhere psychologically your brain was getting ready for,
Yes.
I'm going to have time off
Yeah.
and have
Yes.
kids. So
Yeah.
you had your first baby and
Yep.
you're in Miami. Can you remember the first sale you did in Miami?
Yes. It was a small little house that belonged to my mother-in-law's aunt and uncle. And that was
Great.
one of the hardest sales I've ever had. It went back and forth forever. I had an attorney that almost killed the deal. We had to hire a new attorney. Um, it felt like it was never going to close. And it really wasn't a big deal. It was a small little house. They were 85-year-olds, to a couple little 85-year-olds, and I was trying to help them. And it felt and of course when it's a family friend or family, there's like that added pressure. You really don't want to let them down. That was hard. That was my first sale in Miami.
I say I love that a lot, but I do love that because we have an academy and we teach people. One of the things we teach them is tell everybody what you do, and it's that was your brother, your mother-in-law's aunt or next door
Yeah,
neighbor, was
and
it?
an uncle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, and that was the first, and that's the simplest way. Right? People don't tell everyone. They don't tell people what they do and what they're into, and they
no,
don't
you have to
remind
tell
them.
everybody. And knowing that you're not only telling them yes because of course you want work and you want to make money, but who better to help them than you? If it's your friends and family, why would they go to a stranger that they don't know really that's going to have their best interest at heart or work as hard as you can? So you're not doing it only for yourself, your own interest, but I as I mentioned, I love helping people. I almost to my own detriment. I have a hard time saying no to people. I say yes to everything. I bend over backwards for people. I listen. It's not something that I'm boasting or proud of. It's a lot. It tends to take a toll on me sometimes, but I'd really rather be the one helping a friend or family than somebody else. And not
Uh,
only for financial reasons, but I'm looking out for them. I want to make sure that they're, so of course I tell everybody, this is what I do. You let me know when I can help you. I also do, as you know, a lot of interior design. I help a lot of friends and family for free. I don't charge them for anything. I give them advice. I send them to where to go. I help them source things. I genuinely just like helping people.
So there's a brilliant collab there because when you're doing interior design, you're kind of driving them towards if they're doing the property up, are they getting ready to sell it? Are they looking
Right?
to just do it up to keep it? But what you're actually doing is making it sticky that they're remembering Anna. They're remembering Anna, and you're building the relationship. And the most important thing we have in any business is trust, and you're building that trust so soon. And that's where we're talking now about where you went from Miami, but that's what I see with Aperture is all the agents there have a trust point with each other because it's so hard to become an agent here that
Yes.
that we can turn around and go, look, I'm going to refer you because
Yes.
I'm clever enough to know I know nothing about the market you're going into,
Right.
but I know a
They'll help
colleague
you.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the way that how I also see myself in terms of sales, interior design, and property management is that I'm able to help them with a lot of different various steps, right? Along the way. So it's not only once they buy the house, but what happens after they buy the house. The other thing that I love about Aperture that is so in line with the way that I'm able to help people in a lot of different ways is that, especially here in London and some of the people that we know around us, the people that we know tend to have properties in a lot of different cities, right? A lot of different areas. So whether it's Miami or New York or London, or they have a house in Mallorca, or they have a flat in Madrid, or they have a villa in south of France, we're able to help these people because of the trust and the service that we've already established with them. We can help these people that have homes in different places. We can help them with all of their homes. They don't have to go somewhere else and look and interview or weed out or verify other agents. We can be that for them, which is what I love. Whether it's me personally or, as you mentioned, this is my colleague who I can vouch for. I vouch for this person. I know that they're good. I know that they're trustworthy. It's almost like, and this was, I can't take credit for this. This is my husband's saying. It's almost like Aperture is the private bank of real estate. So when you're a wealthy person and you go to a private bank, they help you with your bank needs globally. So we are the private bank of real estate. We help you with your real estate needs globally. And we are still that agent that's going to help you along that process, no matter where it is you're buying or selling.
That's so unique and so beautifully pieced together.
I can't take credit,
And
but when he
no,
said
no, I
that,
mean,
like, yeah, I like that. I
yeah,
can see that. I like that.
look, you can steal, okay? You're allowed to steal it. Every great
I don't think he
artist,
would mind.
yeah, every great artist on the planet, his best work is he's stolen someone else's work and
Yeah,
copied it and made it better. I think also what is cool about it is we're not a franchise and we're not a disjointed group of people. So the trust level set with you, Anna, follows someone in another country because they trust that person because the name
yes,
flies with you. It's still Aperture.
yes.
It's not changed. So you've gone, so you was Miami, went to New York, cut your teeth in New York, come back to Miami,
Learn a whole new set of skills with
with the
foreclosure.
Miami, with foreclosures and all that, getting
Crazy. Yeah.
multi-talented. So, then the next thing is London, right?
No, back to New
What
York.
back to New York.
Back to New
You're
York.
backwards and forwards, right? So is it because you're just comfortable being on the same time zone?
No, no, back to New York because, as I mentioned, my husband was laid off in 2008. For a few months, he was looking for a new position, and he was offered an amazing job with a company that took us back to New York.
So you went
Finance.
back.
So New York is really the hub of the financial world in terms of, especially in the States. So we went back to New York.
So did you pick it back up again, real estate
Yep.
in New York?
Went back to the same company that I worked with, but this time I went and I led my own team.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a business partner, and we really focused mainly on international clients, which was different than what I had done before. Mostly Latin American clients. So my business partner he's from Venezuela, and I'm Cuban, and we just have a lot of contacts in that world, and we created a team focused on international clients.
And that was in New York. You're basing it on international clients.
Yes.
That's working for you. You speak a couple of languages anyway, so it
Yeah.
really makes it easier for people coming
Yeah.
in. When did you decide, right, we're going to London now? Or was it your husband's
So
company that moved over? What got you
it was my
into
husband's
Prime
company moved us
Central?
over. So
Yeah.
going back from Miami to New York, we were in New York for another 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
And then his company, we were actually house hunting. I had said I had now two kids, and I said, I think I want to leave the city. I want like a proper house. So we started house hunting in Westchester, which is a very common place for people to go from New York. We looked in Connecticut. We saw a house we really liked in Connecticut. We were thinking about putting in an offer, and his boss said, "Oh, wait, just wait a minute." He said, "Before you put in the offer, we're really thinking about having you move to London." At that time, my husband was going to London twice a month because he heads up emerging markets. Uh,
Okay.
so he does a lot of Asia, Europe, Africa, just everything except US. So we moved over. We came to London. And at
So
the time, uh, one of my brothers had passed away, and I felt like it was a good time for me to go and maybe just have a fresh start, just something to look forward to, something exciting. So we did. I took a trip to London before moving here to see if
mhm.
I would like it. My husband's company sent me and him over, and we spent like a week. I was looking at homes, I was looking at schools, and I fell in love with it. I said, yeah, let's do it. So we moved in 2016. So we've been here now 10 years, and we loved it. We said we were gonna do 2 years. Then two
And you're
years
still
came,
here.
and oh, we'll do another 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll say so, and then and now we've bought a house, as you know. So I'm after paying stamp duty, I'm really not going anywhere.
I
Now
mean,
we're now
they
we're
do
stuck.
they do say that London is a bad habit one hates to leave.
Yes.
So it locks you in,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
We're
it is
laughing.
magical.
I
And I
love.
think what's kind of great is, the pillar talk between you and your husband must all be about international and emerging markets, and so you must be actually just wrapped up in real estate and ergo wrapped up in people,
Yes.
markets. You're aware of what's going on. You are that advisor. You are the global advisor, which at Aperture we tell everyone this is what you are. You're there to advise people and to make sure that you're grabbing the sides to that canoe as
Mm,
they're sitting on it and they're not rocking and they're not coming off, right? And that's what
yes.
we do. So you've been there now 10 years.
Yes.
So how did you bump into Aperture?
So I bumped into Aperture by a neighbor who I know, and she was the one. I think she was an early hire of yours, Caroline, and
Yeah.
she was the one who said you have to come and join Aperture. It's a perfect fit for you and what you do, and I was like, well, yeah, okay. I was okay. I had never heard of Aperture, and so she had me come and meet you and Sully. And we had a great meeting, and I loved everything you guys had to say. And then I spoke to Michael, of course, loved everything he had to say, and that's how I came on to join Aperture. And I'm so happy I did. I think, other than marrying my husband, best decision I ever made.
And you are so good. What I mean? And by the way, just repeating to everyone, me and Anna and all the conversations that we have, on here are, and on private access, they're all unscripted. When I speak to a lot of people, they go, "Can you send me the conversations or the questions?" I'm like, "Dude,
Paper reading.
yeah." I'm like,
No,
I don't.
it's got to be genuine.
Yeah, and that people feel genuine, people understand genuine, and they believe in genuine.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, what we're doing. And that's why it's become so sticky, and people are so attracted to it because it's genuine. There is a point when we'd say to someone, we can help you with this, or we can't help you with that, but we can refer you on to someone that's trusted, like we
Yeah,
like we
we're not
covered.
going to fake it and say, "Oh yeah, sure." No, we want to make
No.
sure you're in the right hands, and if it's our hands, great. If it's not, we're going to find you the right hands.
So when we look at Aperture's aiming at, the higher end of the luxury market, and, I ask everyone this question, what do you think defines luxury?
It doesn't have to be the price point necessarily. I think it has to be something that is just done well and that meets the needs of somebody that has maybe like a higher caliber of taste. So it could be a tiny little studio, but it could be luxurious if it's done right. I mean, and I think this is where my interior design side comes, is that I can work with any size of space and you can make something luxurious. So I don't think it has to be the price point necessarily. I just think something that works well and is feels luxurious, that you can kind of sit back and be like, oh yeah, this is nice.
And as we think back over your journey, and now, you're in prime central London, you're doing very well there, your background as we wind back, so it's London, back to New York, back to Miami, back to New York, back to Miami,
Yeah.
and having,
Very
you,
connected still, even though being in London,
yeah.
I'm still, yeah. I have a property
Uh,
in Miami, as you know, and a family property in New York, and we're always all around. Funny enough, I have a friend of mine from New York and her husband staying in my house as we speak today.
okay.
Yeah, they're here
Yeah.
for 5 days. So our network is constantly Miami, New York, London. I have family in Spain, which
Yeah.
we're signing on a listing in Spain. I have family in Zurich, which we're also discussed about growing into Zurich. I have friends in Milan, which I was just there a couple weeks ago. So I think being in London does help you branch out into other European cities just because the proximity and the connections and the people that you meet. But I do have a big family. Like my cousins, I have cousins everywhere. My husband and my kids are like, how many cousins do you have? But literally, I have cousins in Switzerland, in Spain, in Italy, all over.
Oh, they're all over.
So
So
that's
yeah, and that does help because you are a global advisor and you're a real global advisor. And now you can talk about anything from foreclosures, to knowing about Madonna's property that wasn't allowed to be to come on side. And so in that instance, and I'm penning the word in my head as I speak, in that instance, if you could look back to the young girl
mm,
that arrived in New York,
yeah, yes.
and she's being a waitress and she's finished her shift.
Yep.
What advice, as she's walking home, probably in the rain, what advice would you give that young lady?
Wear comfortable shoes. No, I'm kidding.
You never wear comfortable shoes.
I never wear comfortable
No.
shoes. It's true. Um, it's it's all gonna work out. Sometimes you try to overplan your life or you kind of want to put this path and sometimes things come into your life that are unexpected. You have to be open and available and take the chance. Don't be scared. Yeah,
Yeah.
just go for it.
Yeah, I like it's so interesting to it's one a question I kind of ask a lot, and it's interesting to what people would say. And it is what I get from what you said and a lot of others, is just breathe a little bit more, smell the roses. Yeah.
Don't stress out.
Yeah.
And
Don't
listen, it's a lot easier said than done, but especially in your 20s, you're trying to figure it all out. You don't have to really. You have
yeah.
you have to be surrounded by the right people. And funny, I would say that, I just got Michael Valdez's new book, Fire Your Friends.
Yeah. Lovely
The
book.
title is the title's a little bit misleading, but it's
Yeah.
it's all about surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think that's such a key. He's so right. Surrounding yourself with the right people. Again, it doesn't, I'm not talking about financially. It doesn't have to be wealthy people, but the right people, good people, intelligent people, hungry people, people that are as ambitious and motivated as you are, and you learn from each other. Um, so I think being around the right people and being open and keep on pushing. How many deals have we had that have fallen apart at the 11th hour? It happens.
That's
And you
part of
have
it.
that deal where somebody buys it over the weekend on a video.
Yeah, and you can't believe it. You're like,
Right.
this is
So don't let the losses determine your overall path. Just keep going.
and we're probably wrapped with that. So what have you got an Instagram account that you can share with
I
people?
do. I do.
Yeah.
I'm
What
not
is
as
that?
active as I should be.
So
And
if they want to reach out to you, want to
yeah,
speak
it's
to you, if
called
people are looking to buy in all these
Star. Absolutely.
massive areas, or they just want to hear from someone that feels real, with your kind of background, and people like people, right? They go, not everyone likes everyone. I'm a fortunate person, everyone likes me, but some people
Yeah.
not everyone wants to talk to. So, how do they contact you? Is it over Instagram? What's your handle?
So my handle is Anna with a double N, ANNA, Sells Global. Kind of
There
speak
you go.
of Anna Sells Global. The tips that you guys always give me great tips on social media to not overthink it. So I need
Yeah.
to I need to do more of that. But
Just do it. Just do
just
it.
do it.
Social media's gone in a minute.
Yeah.
So look, Anna, absolute pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
I
Thank you
told
for
you,
having me.
it would be great.
Yeah, it's
Listen,
fun.
guys. Thank you for listening on Private Access,
Thank you for
guys.
having everybody.
And thanks to Anna for being on here and sharing some incredible insights with you all. And I'm sure if you reread this again, you will find more gold that you missed the first time. So appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot and see you on the next one.